All right, join me on the top of page 122 in your social studies book. I'm going to start at the very top where you have that box that says citizenship, and it says equal justice. In addition to putting together a code of laws, Hammurabi, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, introduced the idea of equal justice or fair treatment under the laws. His equal justice, however, was limited to equality within each social class. Under the Code of Hammurabi, members of the ruling class were favored over people of other classes. The punishments they received were often lighter than those received by other people. At that time, this was considered fair and just. Today, the United States Constitution provides for equal treatment of all people without regard for a person's position in our society. Okay, continuing now, Hammurabi and the Babylonian Empire. Follow along. Between 1790 BC and 1750 BC, Hammurabi, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Hammurabi, the king of the city-state of Babylon, conquered and united most of Mesopotamia under his rule. In this way, he formed a large empire that became known as the Babylonian Empire. So this is after the rule of Sargon. As emperor, Hammurabi both encouraged trade and oversaw agriculture, irrigation, and building projects. In addition, he changed the tax system so that all people in the empire paid a fair share. Hammurabi is perhaps best remembered for organizing the laws of his land. Each city-state had long had its own laws. Hammurabi collected all these laws, sorted them, and came up with one collection of laws known as the Code of Hammurabi. So that would be like each state in the United States has its own set of laws, and then the president said, you know what, no, we need to have just one set of laws. So he would organize all the sets of laws of the United States and come up with one set of laws that apply to everyone, okay? Which isn't exactly how it works now. Right now, states can have their own laws. The Code of Hammurabi, continuing in the text, consisted of 282 laws. They covered such matters as family relationships, taxes, land and business deals, trade, loans, debts, wages, and crime. Hammurabi changed the old laws that were unfair and made clear those that were confusing. So he made changes to these laws to make them more clear, and if there were unfair laws or just plain bad laws, he got rid of them. Continuing in the text. He had the code carved into stone and placed in a public place for everyone to see. To Hammurabi, the code represented a way to rule. And then the quote there says, so that the strong should not harm the weak. So he had some sense of fairness in his laws. Okay, continuing in your text. Some of the laws followed the idea of an eye for an eye. These laws called for punishments that matched the crimes that had been committed. For example, a person who broke someone's arm in a fight would be punished by having his or her arm broken. Hammurabi's code lasted over the years, but his empire did not. By about 1600 BC, the Babylonian Empire had fallen. Okay, turning the page to page 123, follow along in the text. Kassite and Assyrian rule. After the fall of the Babylonian Empire, several different groups invaded and ruled Mesopotamia. In the 1600s BC, the Hittites, armed with war chariots and iron weapons, captured and looted Babylon. The Hittites soon returned to their homeland, and their neighbors, the Kassites, moved in and conquered Babylon. They ruled the city for more than 500 years. The Kassites adopted Babylonian laws, religion, and literature, which helped Babylonian culture live on. In time, the Assyrian Empire gained control of the region. The Assyrians had a great desire to control the trade routes in southwestern Asia. Their mastery over powerful new weapons helped them meet this goal. From the Hittites, they had learned how to make and use iron weapons and war chariots. The Assyrian army introduced the battering ram, a heavy wooden beam used to break down walls. They were also among the first to use the lance, a spear attached to a long handle. One by one, the Assyrians conquered their neighbors. By the 700s BC, the Assyrians ruled the largest empire in the world. They controlled all of Mesopotamia, as well as lands in present-day Turkey, Egypt, and the Persian Gulf. We can see that area in the map above on page 123. Okay, continuing reading in your text. The Assyrians were great innovators. Assyrian kings united their huge empire by building the world's first system of paved roads and developing a postal system. That's like the mail. The Assyrians were the first to make locks that opened with keys. Okay, turning the page, we're on 124 now. Follow along. They also invented the magnifying glass and built the first libraries. In 609 BC, the Assyrian Empire fell to its enemies, and the new Babylonian Empire rose in its place. One of this empire's best-known rulers was Nebuchadnezzar. He is believed to have built the terraced garden known as the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This garden is remembered as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Okay, continuing on to page 125. Let's read a little bit more about Hammurabi. So I'm going to start with that quote. The gods called by name me, Hammurabi, the exalted prince, to bring about the rule of righteousness in the land. Much of what we know about Hammurabi was written by the leader himself. The words above are part of Hammurabi's introduction to his famous Code of Laws. Perhaps the best-known principle of the code is the one called an eye for an eye. This principle means that anyone causing injury to another person would be punished with the same injury. Hammurabi wrote that he was a religious man who had helped make the Babylonian Empire wealthy. He also told of his success as a warrior. However, the strongest theme in Hammurabi's writings is fairness. Hammurabi called himself the shepherd of the oppressed and of the slaves. He said that he had brought about the well-being of the oppressed, and mentioned that he had spared the lives of people who lived in the lands he conquered. These statements show Hammurabi's belief that all people, even the defeated and the powerless, deserve protection and justice. Hammurabi knew that it would not be right to do everything that he had the power to do. He could have let the poor starve, denied rights to the powerless, and killed conquered people. Instead, his actions were guided by fairness. So it sounds like Hammurabi had a pretty high character standard, especially for the time, considering. Just so you know, this picture over here is a picture of the Code of Hammurabi. Obviously not written in English because they were not English-speaking people. But this is the, I don't know if it's a replica or the actual one, but this is what it looked like. Okay. All right, thanks for watching. Continue on your social studies.